Hello, it's Gabriel again, and welcome to the step one of 5 steps to a successful Moti journey. If you haven't done so yet, please watch the introductory video before you watch this one. So, in this short video, we will discuss step 1 of step 1. Step 1 is designing the Moti journey, and the first step to doing that is to clarify your purpose and objectives. After that, you will have video tutorials on how to build your core team that will be short, understanding motivation SDT that will be shorter, and on how to plan your journey, secure resources, and create teams and circles. As you might have seen, I hope, in the introductory video, the design is one of the events of your learning journey because Moti is a learning journey for yourself, for your team, for your organization. And the first step is actually an interesting one because this is where you define and refine the journey's purpose and objectives. And in doing so, you are already starting to reflect on the needs of your team, of your organization, and your own needs too. So let's distinguish the difference between the purpose of your journey and the objectives of your journey. The purpose is the reason why you're doing this. It's why you are embarking on a Moti journey in the first place. What is your goal? What is the destination? What does success look like? The objectives are the things that need to happen for you to reach that goal, to accomplish the purpose. So it's best described with an example. So if your purpose is to improve leadership practices in the branch, so say you're a branch manager and you feel that the different teams are maybe slacking, or people are not truly engaged, or people are sort of passive, and you want them to be to demonstrate more leadership in their work, then that would be your purpose, to improve leadership practices in the branch and the different teams in the branch. Now the objectives would be to identify, for each different team, the types of practices that need improvement. So say maybe in some teams it might be that people are not listening to each other and they're having lots of misunderstandings. In other teams, there might be miscommunication. You might have a third team where everything's fine and dandy, in which case you will be able to identify also the teams that need more support in leadership development. Now, if you want to sustain improvements in leadership, you probably would also want to design with the teams, with the volunteers, with the other managers, a support system for individuals and teams so they can maintain and improve and develop their leadership skills. We can find another example where the purpose would be to develop an evidence-based volunteering policy that would be adapted to your national society. So as you probably know, in 2022, the IFRC at the General Assembly has adopted a new volunteering policy. And this policy, should be rolled out by different national societies. To do that, it's interesting to get some type of evidence on what you need to prioritize in your volunteering policy. Is it, volunteering motivation and well-being, or is it about the security of your volunteers, or is it about developing new forms of volunteering? Well, in these different cases, you would need to get some kind of evidence, or at least information, to support your ideas about what your national society's volunteering policy should look like. Moti can help you with that, especially if your main goal is to improve the engagement, motivation, and well-being of volunteers and staff. So the objectives in that case would be to identify the branches where volunteers are the most engaged and motivated, or the teams where volunteers are the most engaged and motivated, to understand the reasons for high or low motivation across all branches. There might be a culture, a corporate culture that impedes on motivation, and to design or co-design with the branches and the volunteers. You would want this to be participatory, a volunteering policy. Finally, You would want to complement the new policy with simple systems to monitor changes. And Moti is the tool to do just that. Let's see. There can be many different purposes for a Moti journey, and in no particular order, I'm going to go through some of them, and as you will see, there are many. You might realize that some teams might need to improve gender inclusion or participation, or create safe spaces for dialogue. You might want to understand the deeper psychological factors that lead to high volunteer turnover, or staff turnover for that matter. You might want also just to improve volunteer and staff motivation and engagement. You might want to find ways to have more energetic and entrepreneurial teams. You might be, as many people are, concerned about burnout and depression and emotional distress among volunteers and staff. You might also want to improve leadership practices. For some people see the Red Cross, Red Crescent as a school of leadership where the youth and maybe even older volunteers have opportunities to take on responsibilities, learn compassion, and develop their leadership skills. That is a very honorable way of attracting youth and volunteers into the movement. But for that, we need to demonstrate that we understand leadership practices. We need to lead by example and create a space for youth to practice leadership skills. Moti can also be used to monitor a project or a service. This is based on evidence that we've collected in the past, where you can predict if a project will be successful by observing the project team's motivation. The higher the motivation of the team, the more likely the project will succeed. And there's really two reasons for that. The first is that if the team is motivated, the project is more likely to succeed. But also, people are more motivated when they see that the project is likely to succeed. There's nothing more motivating than success, and there's nothing more demotivating or even depressing than failure. So running a Moti exercise among a project team is a way of estimating the chances of success of the project, and more importantly, if you see that these can be improved, well, you can do something about it by talking to the team and seeing what you can do to increase their motivation. We've given the example of the volunteering policy. Well, Moti can be used to inform the design of a volunteering plan or policy, or even any human resource policy, or actually, many types of policies that require motivated people. So yes, once you've implemented that policy, well, if it's about human beings, run a Moti exercise to see if people are still motivated. If that policy has a good chance of being implemented in a sustained way because people are still motivated by its content and its purpose. You can also consider a Moti journey for yourself as an opportunity to hone your leadership skills, to get feedback on your leadership behavior, and to have a taste of what it is like to have a motivated, engaged team that you are leading. Last but not least, and I'm sure you can find other purposes for Moti, you might want to present senior leadership with some hard evidence about critical issues in volunteering or in human resources that can be addressed. And indeed, with Moti, you can recommend solutions to address these issues. And senior leaders really prefer when an issue is flagged that's simultaneously recommendations and ideas are presented so that they can actually resolve the problem. We want to be a data-based, evidence-based movement. Moti provides you with the evidence you need to improve volunteer and staff engagement, motivation, and well-being. So this ends this step 1 of step 1. In the next video, we will continue with step 1 of your Moti journey, which is about designing your Moti journey, and we will discuss, how to set up your core team. Thanks for listening, and see you soon, I hope.